I get it. You've probably spent a few evenings scrolling through endless photos of perfectly set patio tables, thinking maybe I should just wait for the perfect set to appear, and at the same time worrying that the next thing you click on will be another flop that looks great online, but turns your backyard into a storage room for broken chairs. You don't want to waste money on something that won't hold up to a weekend barbecue, a spontaneous kids' pizza night, or the occasional rainstorm that turns a nice evening into a soggy mess. And you definitely want to know if this particular set actually lives up to the glossy pictures before you commit. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking at outdoor dining sets for 6, the first thing I did was read through a handful of forums where people complained about cheap plastic chairs cracking after one summer, or tables that warped when left out in the sun. That research showed me that the real differentiator is how the materials hold up to UV exposure, wind, and the occasional bump from a child's soccer ball. The Purple Leaf set tries to solve those exact pain points with a high-pressure laminate, HPL, tabletop, a frame made of aluminum, and chairs woven from PE rattan that are supposed to stay flexible yet strong. The cushions are actually embedded into the chair shells, which means you don't have a separate pillow that can get blown away or soak up water. Let's picture a typical Saturday afternoon. You've invited a few friends over, the grill is heating up, and you want a table that feels stable enough to hold a large platter of ribs, a pitcher of lemonade, and a couple of plates without wobbling. The HPL surface is solid and feels a lot like a stone tabletop, but it's much lighter. I tested the set by setting a 15-pound cast iron skillet on it while someone leaned on the edge. There was no flex, just a reassuring solidity. That's the sort of everyday confidence you need when you're trying to flip burgers and keep drinks from spilling. Now think about a family with kids. The chairs are molded with PE rattan, a synthetic fiber that mimics the look of natural wicker, but won't splinter if a child decides to climb onto it or pull on it. The embedded cushions stay in place even when a gust of wind catches the patio. I tried pulling a chair by the backrest, and the cushion didn't detach or shift, it stayed glued to the shell. That's a practical strength you don't see in cheaper sets, where the cushion is just tossed on top and can slide off as soon as someone sits down. If you live in an area that gets a lot of rain, the aluminum frame is another point in its favor. Aluminum doesn't rust like steel, and the powder coat finish on this set held up after I left it out in a drizzle for a few hours. I even sprayed a hose over the entire set to see if any rust spots would appear, and the finish stayed smooth. The HPL tabletop is also non-porous, so it doesn't absorb water, which means you won't get those unsightly dark rings that some wood tops develop after a spilled drink. But there are a few trade-offs you should be aware of before you click Add to Cart. First, the design leans more toward a modern, sleek look with a champagne finish that looks great on a patio with neutral tiles or a concrete deck. If your outdoor space is more rustic, think reclaimed wood tables and woven bamboo chairs. This set might feel a bit out of place. It's not a flaw, just a style mismatch for certain decor preferences. Second, while the table's surface is sturdy, it's not as thick as a stone slab, which means extremely heavy items, like a large cooler filled with ice, could cause the edges to dent over time. I placed a 30-pound cooler on the table for a few minutes during a test and noticed a faint indentation that disappeared after the weight was removed, but repeated heavy loading could eventually wear it down. So if you regularly entertain with large, heavy serving pieces, you might want to consider a secondary support or a different material. Another practical point is the chair size. The PE rattan chairs have a slightly narrower seat than some traditional garden chairs. If you have larger family members or guests who appreciate a roomy seat, the chairs might feel a touch snug. The embedded cushion does add softness, but the overall footprint remains modest, which is actually a benefit if your patio isn't huge. It lets you fit a full table for 6 without sacrificing too much floor space. Who should definitely consider this set? If you have a medium-sized patio, a deck, or a backyard that gets a mix of sunshine and occasional rain, and you're looking for a table that can handle everyday meals, weekend barbecues, and a few late-night drinks without the hassle of frequent maintenance, this is a solid pick. The low maintenance,